military contributor Steve Ganyard.
They tried to concentrate all these forces into the Donbass, but they still continue to commit the forces piecemeal, and they've made no significant gains. So the status quo remains in the Donbass and most of Ukraine.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, meantime, at a military parade displaying the country's newest, most powerful intercontinental ballistic missile. ABC News Chief Global Affairs correspondent Martha Raddatz.
Add to that a fiery speech from Kim where he vowed to ramp up his development of nuclear weapons with a threat to use them if provoked, saying if any forces attempt military confrontation with North Korea, they will be perished.
It could be months before we figure out what plans Elon Musk has for Twitter now that he's gotten the go-ahead to buy the social media company. ABC News Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis.
Overnight, reports of an all-hands meeting at Twitter. Staff raising many concerns over their compensation and whether former President Trump will be allowed back on the social networking platform. Trump issued a statement shortly before the deal was announced, saying he won't return to the platform.
There's growing concern about a mysterious liver disease spreading among children. Nearly 200 hepatitis cases so far, most of them in Europe. ABC's Eva Pilgrim.
Scientists stress the hepatitis was not caused by a COVID vaccine. The vast majority of these children were unvaccinated. The CDC now asking doctors to be on the lookout for symptoms: fever, nausea, and the yellowing of the skin and the whites of the eyes.
With pediatric COVID infections climbing again, the FDA has approved the COVID treatment remdesivir for children under age 5. You're listening to ABC News.
What's done more to improve overall health and wellness, modern medicine or personal hygiene? Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
In just about an hour, the Supreme Court hears arguments over plans by the Biden administration to roll back rules forcing some asylum seekers to wait in Mexico. A lower court says the Trump-era rule had to be left in place. We're getting a new look into the immediate aftermath of the shooting on the movie of the set Rust that killed one person, left another hurt. ABC's Kaylee Hartung with some of the body cam video that has now been released by investigators.
Were you in the room when the lady went? I was the one holding the gun, yeah.
Body cam video showing the immediate aftermath of the fatal shooting that killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins.
She okay? Can somebody tell me anything?
I don't know anything.
Star and producer Alec Baldwin cooperating with authorities.
Whatever you want to do. Whatever. Yes, sir. All right.
As paramedics rush to try to save Hutchins and director Joel Souza's lives, and authorities work to piece together what happened.
How do I know this is a gun?
That's the gun.
Armorer Hannah Gutierrez Reed breaking down in tears, handing over the box of supposed dummy rounds she pulled from to load the gun.
The investigation into that shooting is still ongoing. Actor Johnny Depp has wrapped up his testimony in his defamation lawsuit against ex-wife Amber Heard. He has denied ever abusing her. A lot of adults are still turning to mom and dad for help with money. A new study shows half of parents with kids over 18 are still giving their kids financial help, averaging $1,000 a month. This is ABC News.
70% of the Fortune 100 choose Zoom. With phone, chat, workspaces, apps, events, and video in a single platform, Zoom powers all your communications. Large enterprises, small businesses, and individuals use the secure Zoom platform to enable new ways of working, learning, hosting events, and supporting their customers. And now you can save 15% on meetings, chat, and phone with a Zoom United bundle. Visit zoom.com/bundle. Zoom, how the world connects.
I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
We're seeing sunshine and mild temperatures early, but clouds are going to build in throughout the afternoon ahead of a cold front that's going to bring some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the region. Some of those could be strong to severe and provide us with some damaging wind speeds across the region. But once we head into tonight, that's going to clear out. We'll see drier conditions tomorrow. It's actually going to feel pleasant with the drier air mass moving in. Highs today will top in the low to upper 80s. Tomorrow, we're in the lower 70s. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwin in the Weather Center.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Another great getting up morning here in the foothills, and it's 64 degrees. Enjoy the sun because it may go away about noonish today, turn into some thunder showers and maybe severe at times, but wind gusting to about 18 miles per hour. Then it goes away. It turns out to be a beautiful afternoon and sunny skies today. And tomorrow and Thursday and Friday and Saturday we have sunny skies. Again, right now 64 degrees here at WCAB in Rutherfordton.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, good morning, Butch.
Hello, Jim.
Welcome back to the Blue Room.
I missed you when I was gone. I was so grateful to get in Thursday night from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Of course, it was the opportunity to help my mother out. And you know what? I'm going to say this not in a maudlin way. You can look up what maudlin means, or a depressed kind of way. But you know what? It's actually sweet. I just am noticing changes in my mother. You know, at almost 90 and having had COVID and with the move and everything. And so every moment with her has been so precious.
Sure.
And we'll never get those back, will we?
No, we won't. And it's good that you're spending as much time as you possibly can with her because those are precious moments.
Right. And so anyway, we've got kind of a special program today and then also on Thursday. Today we're going to have the incumbent district attorney, Ted Bell. It's going to be with us. On Thursday we'll have Corinne Evans, who is his opponent in the race. The primary is May 17th. There's information at the Rutherford County GOP website about all the early vote, the early voting, the voting times, the voting places, and the like. You can go to that. There's also a Republican Party meeting this Thursday evening, as I understand it. I believe those are usually at 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, that's right.
6 o'clock, right downtown there at the Rutherford County GOP. Make sure that you go. Make sure you participate. Make sure you're involved. And as you're involved, you're going to be able to help make our county, our state, and our country better. Now, real quickly, I wanted to let you know that the focus of the interview today with Ted Bell and Thursday with Corinne Evans is not going to be so much on what they would do. We're going to take a platform that's very consistent with the ethos, with the personality of My Great America with Jim and Butch, and we're going to be asking them, who are you? Who is Ted Bell? Who is Corinne Evans? And so rather than get into the weeds of policy and the like, we're really going to ask some questions that just relate to formative experiences in their life and the like, and that's very consistent with what you and I chose to do when we launched this program.
I think it's smart to approach it that way, and it'd be interesting to hear both of them and their story today.
Right, and again, at the end of the day, it's the responsibility for everybody to be engaged in the political process. If you're not registered to vote, I can't help but say shame on you. And beyond that, as somebody who follows Jesus, if you claim to be a follower of Jesus, a Christian, someone who's born again, you must be involved in the political process. We're called to be salt and light in a dark and bland world. We are called to bring truth into a culture, Jim, that is increasingly staggering from one side of the road to the other, filled with so much negativity and toxicity and the venom of personal attacks. That will never be the platform of WCAB. It will never be the personality of this particular program. We want you to be involved, and so get involved, listen to the candidates. I tell the folks that are running for office, I always go to God in the end. I listen, I ask questions, I consume the information. I'll tell you what I don't do. I don't jump on any social media bandwagon and just follow the lemmings off the cliff.
Good for you.
Or like those pigs in Mark chapter 5 that jumped off the cliff. Don't do that. Don't be influenced by dark places, dark forces, dark information. Be influenced by truth, and the abiding truth that we know only comes through God's Word. So We're waving Ted Bell in right now. Again, on Thursday, we'll have Corinne Evans here. He is running for district attorney as well. And, Jim, one of the sweet things, I don't think the door is locked. Come on in. Here we go. Hi, Ted.
You mentioned early voting. It starts Thursday at the two locations, Isothermal Community College Business Sciences Building, and also at the County Annex Building. It starts at 8 o'clock, goes to 7:30 at those early voting only. Those two places.
And the dates again on that are?
It starts Thursday, April the 28th.
Okay.
And runs all the way up until Saturday, May 14th. With the exception of Saturdays and Sundays, they will not be voting, except on the last day, which is a Saturday. They will stay open until 3 o'clock.
Great. And again, the Rutherford County GOP meeting is this Thursday night. Please make sure that you come to that. And Ted, welcome. I gave a little preamble earlier that you will be our guest today, and Corinne Evans will be our guest on Thursday. A little bit different approach. We're going to be focused on really who you are and who Corinne is. And I'm reminded from my own story, and I mentioned this to you in the Blue Room earlier, I was profoundly influenced by a grandfather who had 11 children. My mother was the oldest of 11. He was the production control manager of the Schick company, which some people thought was oxymoronic when you had 11 children. But in any event, he used to tell me things like there's no right way to do the wrong thing. He would guide me to Scripture and tell me, Butch, it's extremely important you guide your life through God's Word. One verse that he put in me early on, and then we're going to ask you a couple of questions, was Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in and rely confidently on the Lord with all your heart. Don't rely on your own insight or understanding. In all your ways, know and acknowledge and recognize Him, and He will make your paths straight and smooth, removing obstacles that block your way. So I just remember those were pillars in my life, and he was somebody that was very influential. So welcome into the Blue Room here. I know you've been here before, and who is Ted Bell?
Before you start, if you could scoot just this way just a little bit so we can get you on camera better. There you go.
There we go.
Now we got a good angle. Go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Sure. So we're setting up the volleyball here for you to spike. So it's an open-ended question. Who are you?
You know, it's funny. Those open-ended questions are frequently the hardest because they're so open. So I'm currently. It's funny, in this country, we define ourselves by our occupation.
Yeah.
So I'm currently the district attorney, been the district attorney for 8 years. I think what I'd prefer to be known as a good father, a loving family man. I've got a wonderful wife and two fantastic daughters that are just wonderful.
How old are they?
They are 13 and 16.
Okay, so you're there's a qualifier there. You're a father of teenage daughters.
Yes, and my 16-year-old is driving now. But
I've been bless you, my friend.
Well, I have been blessed because she is so good, and she is such a kind-hearted, rule-following person that I've never had any stress or concerns about her going out and driving, because she's established that trust during her years growing up that. She does what's right, and as a dad, that is, you can't ask for more than that. That really is just the best thing ever. And my younger daughter Sophie is right there. She's a little more of an imp. She's a little more like me, but she's also just absolutely wonderful.
I remember with 3 teenage daughters, Jim and Ted. It's a little thing that I noticed. When they would call me Dad, it was just the pedestrian things of life. Mm-hmm. When they called me Daddy, they wanted money. It seemed to be the case. I don't know if that's axiomatic or not, but let me ask you this. When you're not doing the district attorney work, which has all of its complexities, and of course the marketplace, our daily courier, social media, the forums that have been happening, people can ask questions about the details of cases and why this or why not. That's not our focus today. But when you're not doing that, what are you doing to replenish and refresh your life? Because we do know that that hard work in and of itself is one thing, but there have to be other things that nurture your life. What are some of those things?
I think, not to beat on it too much, but I think that the one thing is family for me. The other thing is church. I go to Nebo Crossings in Marion, and it gives me such a grounding, and it's so helpful to me. this job is stressful. It's horrible. You deal with the worst in people. You see the worst. I mean, nobody wants to sit and watch hundreds and hundreds of videos of adult men raping children, and view autopsy photos of toddlers that have been murdered, and it wears on you. It wears on all of us in the office, and you just get so down. But then I'm good friends with my pastor, and he and I just get together for lunch or socially, or for our small group, or at church, and I find a lot of solace and a lot of comfort and a lot of strength in in church and in the Bible and in my love for Jesus and all of that. So it's a combination of family. I mean, one of the greatest things to put all that behind me, or put all that aside, is to spend a late afternoon at my daughter's soccer game, watching her score a goal, when the sun's out, and you just smile, and all is right in the world.
Right.
And so that in church probably gives me my...
You also have a recreational activity with falconry, right?
Yes.
How did you get into that, and what is that?
So falconry is using birds of prey to hunt with. Primarily around here, it's primarily hawks, some falcons. Falcons, you need wide open spaces, so it's harder to hunt with falcons around here. I got started in that as a kid growing up. My dad's best friend was a falconer.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pennsylvania.
Where?
In rural Pennsylvania, about 50 miles north of Philadelphia.
Okay.
My dad was chief of police. It was kind of funny because he was chief of police of our township. It was about 40 square miles, no stoplights, 3 officers. When I was in high school, they detoured a main road through our township, and they put up a stoplight.
A main road?
Yeah, well, they did a detour of a main road and directed the traffic through our township.
So all of a sudden, the big city's coming through your township.
Or the bigger towns coming through our village. But they put up a temporary stoplight to monitor traffic at one of the intersections. And I came home from school one day, and my dad was sitting at the kitchen table reading the Pennsylvania Crimes book. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm looking up the laws on stoplights." He said, "What do I know about stoplights? We've never had one."
Never had one.
So that's kind of the area. It was more rural than Rutherford County, where I grew up. So my dad's best friend was a falconer, and so I'd come home from school, and he would come over, and we'd go hunt bunny rabbits together, squirrels together. I've got pictures of me in 4th grade with a hawk on my fist going out and hunting rabbits, and just been involved in it ever since. And it is wonderful fun. It's wonderfully therapeutic. You're basically, walking through the woods, watching nature up close do its thing. I do a lot of presentations with the birds at schools and community groups, and it's the kids love it, and it's just so much fun.
How many do you have?
Right now I just have 5.
Right.
Just have 5. I've got 3 falcons and 2 owls. That's down from my peak of about 26 maybe 4 years ago.
Somebody would probably look at that and say there's got to be some word picture or metaphor of falconry with being a district attorney. I'm not going to ask you to do that, but
yeah. None come to mind that quickly that I would say on the radio.
I guess one might be that a falcon or a bird of prey is going to be focused on an assignment. It has something it needs to do. So.
Mm-hmm. You could also say that both are for the birds.
You know what? I'm not from around here, so the humor sometimes escapes me. But Jim helps me out with that. Let me ask you this. Ted, when did you decide that you were going to pursue a legal career? What were some of the circumstances around that? And tell us where you went. You went to UNC, right?
I did go to UNC for both undergrad and law.
What were the impulses that put you in that direction?
So it started when I was young, when I was a kid. I was 10 or so, and it just started kind of like every kid does. I'm going to be this when I grow up. For me, I either wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer. Don't know why. I mean, those were just the 2 things in my mind that I was going to be one or the other. When I was 12, I went deer hunting for the first time. Got my first deer. Had to gut my first deer. And immediately decided law was looking much better than being a doctor.
But you married a doctor.
I did marry a doctor.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of involved in that by proxy now.
At law school, how did you find that? Was that a challenging experience? Was it an enjoyable experience? Was it just hunkering down, putting your nose in the books? What was that like?
It was very enjoyable. So I did about 7 years in the Army between high school and then going to UNC.
What did you do there?
I was a helicopter pilot.
Okay.
So then when I resigned, I was stationed at Fort Bragg when I resigned and saw the in-state tuition for Carolina and said, I can afford that. So went to UNC finished my undergrad because I'd picked up a bunch of credits while I was in the Army at various schools. So finished my undergrad and then went straight into law school. So I was a non-traditional student. I was older than my fellow classmates, but
in a veteran.
Mm-hmm, yes. Yeah. But one of the things I really enjoyed in law school was just sitting down with a group of my fellow classmates and discussing and debating a lot of the issues, a lot of the legal issues, and it was just a lot of fun to have those kind of intense but friendly discussions with each other and hammer out some nuance in something. So that was, for me, that was one of the highlights, is just having those deep discussions with a group of people.
So your life for a season, you're having to read things like Corpus Juris Secundum and Black's Law Dictionary and do case law and all that. Did you find those were things, did you enjoy the process of applying case law to different situations? Because you have to be kind of wired, don't you, to appreciate that.
And there's actually a formula in law school called IRAC that is drilled into your head and that you use on exams, and it stands for Issues, Rules, Analysis, Conclusion. So you identify the issues, you identify the applicable rules, you then do your analysis of how do the rules apply to those issues, and then you come up with your conclusion. And it was a great kind of mental training for a career in law, for being a prosecutor, because we do that with every case we have. You identify what your evidence is, you identify what the law is and what the law requires, and then you look and see, okay, what can we prove, what can't we prove, and then you move forward and try to figure out the right outcome for any kind of situation.
You know, one of the things that I've found in talking, Jim and Ted, to people in the county and really in places around the country, is so many people have a television influence view of the courtroom. They have, and there are a plethora of law and order programs and courtroom programs and police programs and CSI programs, and all of that shapes an impression of our judicial process. You know, without getting too deep into all of this, you know, for the layperson, can you maybe identify just a couple of misnomers? I mean, some things, you know what I'm asking?
Yes, completely.
Things that people believe are true because they watch it on television or Netflix, that when it comes to suiting up and showing up and putting on the hip waders and getting in every day, just aren't true. Can you give us a couple of examples?
It's funny because we actually have these discussions with potential jurors when we're doing jury selection. One of the things we tell everybody is, this is not going to be over in 60 minutes with commercial breaks. You know, this is going to take several days. Right. You usually don't have that smoking gun. You usually don't have that, you know, in the scripted TV shows, one of the attorneys gets the aha moment. That doesn't happen in real life, especially because with the discovery rules, we share all the evidence and information we have with the defense, so everybody knows everything when you go into the trial. There's no surprises.
Yeah, you're talking about on the prosecution side and defense. Right. They've got the same body of evidence that's going to be adjudicated.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that's vastly different between on TV and in the real world is with shows like CSI. They have these bizarre science things that they invent, where one of them was they poured plaster into a stabbing wound of somebody and then pulled that plaster out, and it was the perfect form of the knife that was used in the crime, and that's just not going to happen in real life. So a lot of times we have to explain to juries that, you know, there's the science you see on TV, and then there's what we can really do in the real world, not only with what's even possible under science, but what's affordable. You know, a lot of people, in talking with jurors, they want DNA tests on everything. Well, the last update I got from the state, a DNA test costs about $30,000. Wow. So the state's not going to be doing DNA tests on simple run-of-the-mill crimes. It's just not a good steward of taxpayer money. We have to rely on all the other evidence that we have. So now we get up into the upper level. You get into a murder case. Yes, we're going to be looking for DNA evidence if we can get some. So it's things like that is different between TV and the real world.
I had a number of friends that have been Eagle Scouts and others that have gone on to the academies, and they all talk about the importance of principled decision making. So if you had to identify kind of the anchored positions that you have, those unshakable standards where even though you have prosecutorial discretion, because the law allows for that, just some of those anchored kind of places, the foundation upon which you do all of what you do every day, what would some of those things be?
If you're asking about specific policies, so to speak, there's kind of a joke in the office that they can write down my specific case requirements on an index card, because in my mind, we hire good people as prosecutors, and I leave it to their discretion to figure out what's the proper outcome for this case, given the evidence that you have, given all the facts, all the situations about all the people involved. What is the right outcome? So we have very few hard and fast, if you do this, then this.
It's not a paint by numbers
No,
thing.
no. Somebody said once, there's a reason that we don't have computers doing prosecution, because you have to be able to reason and look at each individual situation. One of the few hard and fast rules we have is for breaking and entering. So if you break into somebody's home, we are going to do everything we can to send you to prison. You're violating somebody's most sacred place, their sanctity, their safety, their security. You're taking all of that away from them. And there's nobody over the age of 5 who doesn't know that that's wrong.
Right.
So there's no excuse for it. So that's one of the few. With most of the everything else, what we try to do is figure out what is the right outcome. We want to hold the defendant accountable for what they did and hold them responsible for it, but we also want to figure out what do they need so they don't come back.
Right.
What's the underlying issue, and how do we stop them from coming into the court system again? Is it substance abuse? Is it mental health? Is it housing? And we try to match the disposition with the case up to ensure that they get those resources through some form or fashion so they don't come back. At the end of the day, we look at the whole picture and do our best to do what we think is right.
Folks, the mark of a good conversation, we've had one here, is that they go quickly, and we're rounding the home stretch, Jim and Ted. On Thursday, we'll have Corinne Evans here. We're going to have a similar conversation, just kind of unplugged, not scripted, and really focused on who the person is, not what they're going to do. And now listen, you go to the Republican Party meeting on Thursday, do your own research. Both Corinne and Ted have told me personally, if you're interested in knowing more, they're approachable. More than anything else, folks, we have got to get to a place where we have a kinder and gentler approach to our elections. And it doesn't happen to be a big metropolitan area for there to be venom and toxicity and rumors and innuendo and the like. I love the fact that truth will always set us free. And so our desire is to just have truth about who people are. It's extremely important to know not just what people do, but who they are. Because at the end of the day, as Ted was mentioning, and I'm sure we'll hear from Corinne, it's the application of the law guided by the principles and the values of a person that really at the end of the day come down to deciding good decisions and decisions that aren't so good. So we're really grateful that you took time. We know that your schedule is frenetic and you have a lot that you're doing there. So for you to take time says a lot. We're really grateful for that today.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate y'all having me here, and it's been very enjoyable. Thank you. I enjoyed it immensely.
Great.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
On Thursday, we'll have Corinne Evans, and make sure you do your due diligence, and please go to the Republican Party meeting on Thursday night and help them out. And this is My Great America with Jim and Butch. This is a great county. It can be better, and we're going to work together to make sure it is.
If you missed part of the conversation, you can go back to our website, tune in www.wcab59.com, and hear the entire conversation this morning. God bless America.
God bless America. Thank you.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.
We're seeing sunshine and mild temperatures early, but clouds are going to build in throughout the afternoon ahead of a cold front that's going to bring some scattered showers and thunderstorms across the region. Some of those could be strong to severe and provide us with some damaging wind speeds across the region. But once we head into tonight, that's going to clear out. We'll see drier conditions tomorrow. It's actually going to feel pleasant with the drier air mass moving in. Highs today will top in the low to upper 80s. Tomorrow, we're in the lower 70s. I'm meteorologist Peter Sherwin in the Weather Center.
Now, the Business Edge Minute. Here's Mitch Graff.
Some people seem to be more creative than others, yet we all have the ability to be creative if given the opportunity. Here's a few ways that you can access your creative side on a regular basis. Number one, expose yourself to as much knowledge as possible. Creative people immerse themselves in education, which in turn opens up their thought processes so that creativity can make its way into their thinking. Number two, be open to new experiences. Psychologists believe that openness is most highly associated with people who are creative. It's these new experiences and events that allows them to explore new possibilities in unfamiliar environments. And number three, challenge yourself. The fewer resources you have, the more creative you'll have to be with them. Before writing Green Eggs and Ham, Dr. Seuss's editor bet him he couldn't write a book that had 50 words or less, which put his creativity to the test. And guess what? The word count is exactly 50. At BusinessEdgeMinute.com, I'm Mitch Graff.
Hello, I'm Aaron Ellenberg, candidate for sheriff for Rutherford County. I was born and raised in the Gilkey community of Rutherford County. I am a graduate of RS Central High School and currently serving on the RS Central High School Improvement Committee. For over 22 years, I have served the citizens of Rutherford County in various sworn law enforcement roles, including being a North Carolina law enforcement instructor since 2008. I have built my career on a strong foundation of honor, integrity, service, faith, and family. I pledge to continue that. As your next sheriff of Rutherford County, we can make a difference together, paid for by committee to elect Ellenberg sheriff.
Stay in touch with your tax dollars. Listen to the Commish Report and the School Board Report each month live here on WCAB. The reports are heard the following morning after the meetings. WCAB, keeping you informed as well as entertained.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off of you. You'd be like heaven to touch. I wanna hold you so much. At long last, love has arrived, and I thank God I'm alive. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you. Pardon the way that I stare. There's nothing else to compare. The sight of you leaves me weak. There are no words left to speak. But if you feel like I feel, please let me know that it's real. You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.